And good morning, everybody, and welcome. This is SEC Wraparound, and we are got a great day of football coming up. Maybe the biggest Saturday of the whole season, and it comes with some great matchups. And we do want to apologize for the technical difficulties for being behind. So we got it all figured out, and so now we are back on track, sort of. So we're going, and of course, we're going to bring up our questions, and then we'll get into our topics. So let's go ahead and get our first question. It is, what was Georgia's first bowl game, and what year was it? Anything to add on this?
It is in the 20th century, not the 19th century.
All right. And then our second question, Georgia played 2 games in their first season. Who did they play?
This is a really good question, and one team is a team that's been going against them a really long time, and the other team, well, not so much.
All right. So now let's go ahead and dive into our first topic. And let me tell you, we got to talk about this Florida Tennessee game because it was a game where Tennessee just they lost 29-16. So what did you think about the game, Derek?
I didn't get to watch it really much, but what I could see from it is Tennessee blew it. Tennessee should have won this game. And I was listening to something or watching something, and it said that in this since so long ago, it's been since Tennessee has won two straight in this series, and it was a pretty long time, or it had never happened. So I can't remember case what it was or what, but I can't what year it was. So it was. And so they were saying Florida's going to win because of that, but also I thought Tennessee was going to win because Florida has not impressed me.
Yeah, I'm going to find stats from the game because I think this will give us some context. So we look at Tennessee to begin with, and oh, Joe Milton, 20 of 34, 287, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. That's just their passing. Oh, when they ran the ball, I think it's Jalen Wright who had 16 carries, 63 yards. Um, just and you look at these stats. Oh, Brew McCoy, 8 targets, 5 receptions, 94 yards, and a touchdown. So I mean, Tennessee never really got going. And if I could, when you look at the
It's
team
kind of the
stats,
same way in the Alabama game. They never got going against South Florida.
yeah. If you look at first downs, Florida had 22 to 17 to Tennessee. Oh, third down conversions, Tennessee 8 for 15, Florida 7 for 14. Both teams did not convert on a fourth down conversion. Tennessee actually outgained Florida 387 to 349. But it was the passing game that really was the reason why, is because Tennessee was 287 to 166. Florida outran Tennessee 183 to 100. Penalties, though. Penalties killed Tennessee. They had 10 for
Mm.
79. Florida only had 5 for 30. Turnovers, the one interception, that hurts as well. So that interception and then the penalties just killed Tennessee. And I mean, you got this explosive offense and you only put up 16 points. It's not a good day. That's
Nope.
that's for sure. And so yeah, Florida, I did not think Florida would actually win this game. And the reason why is
Me.
because from what I saw calling the Utah game, to me, they didn't even seem like a team that was going to compete very much in the SEC. So I guess I guess it baffles me that they beat Tennessee, but then they go on. But I mean, I guess also if you look at it, home field advantage, especially in the SEC, is big, and Florida used the home field to their advantage and got a 29-16 win, which was impressive.
Yep. Definitely in the top 20 chain with them not even being ranked.
Yeah. Okay. So now, um, we got two more questions, and then we're going to get into BYU and Arkansas. But first, how many times did Alabama and Texas? How many times did Alabama beat Texas in the 20th century?
You will be surprised.
And then, um, what is the Alabama marching band called?
Every Alabama fan should know this.
And
I think.
I've known this for a while too. So,
I knew this for a little bit, not much.
all right, now let's talk about BYU and Arkansas. Derek, did you get a chance to see this?
No, but I joined in a little bit on your broadcast, but I was watching the Auburn game at that point instead of the BYU game. I was watching Auburn crush Sanford, so I had more fun watching that instead of the uh, Arkansas game. But I did get to see the final play on fourth down.
Oh,
That Arkansas blew the game on.
yeah. Okay. So, if you didn't already know this, I did broadcast the game last Saturday night, and I got to tell you, it was a good football game for someone who likes back and forth scoring all throughout the game. It was great, especially that first half. Like both teams, like Arkansas got up 14-0. Then you had BYU come back and score like 21 unanswered, and then you had Arkansas score like 17 unanswered to get up 31-21. And then you had BYU score the last 17 points of the game. And I wouldn't say that either offense really impressed me. It was single plays though. Like um like the running back for Arkansas having that long run. I can't remember I think his name's like AJ Green. Had that long touch, that 55-yard rushing touchdown. Impressive on that play. Offensive line gave him enough time to make just to break free and get a touchdown. And then BYU to me, it was single plays, like I said. The run game, they didn't run the ball very much. But when they did, it was effective because Arkansas did not plan to be, having to go against the run. I mean, you could tell that Saturday night. And really, I wouldn't say Keaton Slovis did incredible, but I think he made enough plays to help his team win the game. And for Arkansas, it's the penalties that killed them because you can't expect to win a game when you just can't play disciplined football. And that was part of that was what killed him on that fourth down play because I think it's like a legal shift or something on
They had
the final.
something happen because they had it and then they had some penalty.
So yeah, it was not. It was pretty bad if you're Arkansas there at the end. And KJ Jefferson to me, he's a good player. But one of the stats they showed, which is I guess telling, is when KJ Jefferson runs the ball himself more than 10 times in a game, they've lost most of the time. But if he's somewhere under 10, but still runs the football, they won most of those games. So, and that, of course, against BYU, they had him run a bunch of times. So you could see where I guess the reliance on KJ Jefferson does not help them at all. So, I mean, I really, for Arkansas, they've got a big game coming up today. And we'll get, and if you look at it from Arkansas, I'm not completely sure how they're going to do tonight. Especially LSU just beat the crap out of Mississippi State Saturday. Like,
They did.
yeah, it was
14
not.
to 41 or something like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, Arkansas, their defense is going to have to play better, which I think it could, but I'm not completely sure because Jaden Daniels is going to be a hard. That's hard to defend. That offense of LSU, that's hard. So Arkansas,
Yeah.
from that loss to BYU, I don't know what that tells, but BYU, I still don't know if this really proves that they're going to really compete very much in the Big 12. What do you think?
I'm not watching. I really only watch the SEC really because of these broadcasting games to see how well I did in the guessing. But what I see from BYU, I don't really see them winning it all because who all is in the Big 12? Isn't there like Ohio State and all them too in there?
So the Big 12, I mean, Oklahoma and Texas are in their final year
Uh,
there.
okay.
Yeah,
So Texas is case BYU and Texas win against each other today. Texas would beat them
yeah. So,
because Texas is the better team.
yeah, BYU, I am not completely sure how they would do in the Big 12 this season. Arkansas, I mean, it's early in the season, so I wouldn't want to say that they're doomed, but it does, it is concerning that the way that you lost to BYU and you couldn't play disciplined football. So we'll see how Arkansas does down the stretch, but they got a tough game tonight, and they better play their best game tonight because you got a good LSU team you're playing on the road at Death Valley. So I mean,
Yep,
very interesting game.
very hard. Isn't it at night too?
Yep, prime
And
time
that's even harder.
ESPN. Yep, prime time
That's even
ESPN.
harder.
Yep. All right, so we are going to get into our next two questions, and then it'll be time to preview some matchups. You're going to want to stick around for all this. So, our last two questions. What was the name of the Auburn football stadium in 2003? Derek, anything to add?
I don't want to give it away, so I do not have anything to add to it.
Okay. And then in 1989, Auburn beat Alabama 30-20. What was special about this game? Derek?
It was not the score. It wasn't anything special about the score.
All right. Now, I'm going to let you have the floor on this one because I think you pretty much will give, because you
Okay.
know a lot.
Okay, I
about
know
this
what game you're talking about.
Auburn and Texas A&M. Derek, what are you seeing for this one here today?
All I gotta say is Auburn has to play good football. They cannot be doing flags and all that because they're going into Texas A&M. And in case you go into Texas A&M and get tons of flags, you probably will lose. But Auburn, they need to be able to run the ball good, and they're in the SEC, they have the most rushing yards in the first three games so far out of everybody. So Auburn's rush game is pretty good. So they need to keep on doing smash mouth, running the ball, but they have to be able to throw the ball decent. They can't be doing like a cow game where they only win 10-14. So Peyton Thorne, what I saw from him last week, he was able to run the ball good. He had a rushing touchdown. He ran for a touchdown. He was able to throw the ball decent, but the problem is they got started off slow. That's the problem. Auburn has to get started off fast, not slow. And Auburn's defense has to hold up, okay? So Auburn's offense cannot get started fast. That's one thing. And then Auburn's offense can't rely on their defense like they did in the Cal game because Auburn just their defense saved them in the Cal game because Auburn just could not do anything the first half and barely could do anything in the second half. So Auburn has to be able to throw to their prime wide receivers. One of them is Fair. He has had 2 or 3 touchdowns this season, and then I forgot the other guy's name, but they have to get to the 2 prime receivers, and what they're saying that they might get Nehemiah Pritchett back into the game after a injury in the season. So that might help the defense a little because he's like the biggest veteran out of all of them. And big number 55 on defense, he has some stuff to do. In case he can keep Marcus something, in case he can keep up in what he's been doing. He's been able to get sacks. He's been able to get tackles. I'm hoping he can have a good game today. In case Auburn can get some pressure on the quarterback, and I think they'll do pretty good because they don't have Texas A&M does not have Devon Achane anymore. He's in the NFL for the Miami Dolphins. So Devon Achane was a great running back for Texas A&M. So I'm hoping Auburn's going to win, but you never know how Auburn's going to do in these SEC games. You never know, and this is Auburn's probably biggest test so far this season. Cal's okay, but Texas A&M I think will be a better team than Cal was. So this will be a good opportunity to Auburn to see how they are this season, and then they have to come home and play against Georgia, which will be a good game, I believe. I think Auburn will be able to keep it close for that game, and then pretty much this game is starting off a long, hard road because it goes Georgia, LSU, Ole Miss, Mississippi State. And then they have a bye week, I think, before the LSU game, maybe. But Auburn has to be able to kick it into gear in case they want to have a good season. So, in case you have anything to add to that, Cooper, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say that for me, it's going to have to be because I don't trust the Auburn offense quite yet. Again, it's a bit like because the way they played against Cal, I don't trust Auburn's offense. They're going to have to play great defense. And if you look at Connor Wigman, the quarterback over at A&M, he is incredible at throwing the ball deep. So for Auburn to win, I feel like you've got to really make him uncomfortable because if he because if he's able to do like he's done and just step up in the pocket and make deep throws and just feel the rush, he is going to burn Auburn all day long. So Auburn's got to be able to stop. They've got to be able to get Connor Wigman, and it's. I mean, I don't know. for Auburn, it's just going to be a tough one, I think, today. So we'll
And
see.
what I was saying about Nehemiah Pridgett is a safety or cornerback, so he will be one of the people that guards deep. But also, in case I was Auburn, I would be I would be playing man coverage almost every time because you never want somebody to break out deep open, or you don't because they might surprise you and try to throw shallow and run the ball. So you don't want to be doing like all zone coverage where you don't have that much of a fighting chance, because
Yeah.
in case they can bust out 10-yard runs every time, they will win the game probably.
And as a lot of these games, folks, home field advantage of the SEC is one of the biggest things. And so A&M played at home. Auburn's got to go there. I will say, though, if there's one series where it doesn't matter, the home field advantage probably doesn't matter. It's this series right here between Auburn and Texas A&M, because I can't remember the whole series stats, but if I believe correctly, it wasn't until like 2020 when we had our first home team actually win in this series. So, um, to keep that in mind, the road team has been victorious most of the time in this series. So, that's just a little bit of something to keep in mind when you think about this Auburn Texas A&M game. But now we turn our attention to Alabama and Ole Miss. This is the biggest game of the SEC all day long, even though there's a bunch of others, but this is the biggest one. Oh, and Derek, do you have anything?
Really, what I gotta say, it's a little joke, but Lane Kiffin better stay away from the golf balls and the trash bags and all the mayonnaise bottles and all that. Because Casey keeps on getting hit in the head by golf balls or something, there's no way they're gonna win the game. So you gotta keep. Hopefully, the fans will be respectful to the other team, and maybe Lane Kiffin can pull off a good game against Alabama, because I would like to see Ole Miss beat Alabama at home, because case Ole Miss is going to beat them is going to be this year, because Alabama's in a big rebuilding year.
Okay. So, when I look at this game, it's one of those where Alabama, their defense, I will say, if there's one bright spot I thought I saw in a way, and I mean, it wasn't really that bright for Alabama, but the defense, I mean, only 3 points to USF. So, I mean, it wasn't an incredible defense, but but USF couldn't really get a lot going. So, I mean, if that's the only bright spot that came from that USF game, other than you actually won the game. Um, Looking at it for Alabama, they're going to have to play just incredible defense, because Jackson Dart is a great quarterback. The reason why I say that is because he leads the SEC as far as quarterbacks in rushing yards. Because I believe he's got like 216 or something like that. And he's got like 50 more yards than the second highest player, which is Jaden Daniels at LSU.
That's
So,
not surprising.
so, um, so for Alabama, you've got a lot to have to deal with on defense, because you got Jackson Dart, who has the ability to make plays with his legs. But then you also got to account for, you got Quinshawn Judkins, who is a just incredible running back over there at Ole Miss. And I'll, I mean, it's just one of these games where it's Alabama's defense is going to have to show up.
Yep.
Now, the one thing that when I saw this, I was kind of irritated with Saban about is that he's gone back to Milrow. Now, remember, against Texas, he didn't do good. Last week,
Didn't even get
Was
points.
worse. Tyler Buckner was worse, and so that was it was bad for Tyler Buckner.
Yep.
And
And then Ty Simpson still didn't have a good game.
But here's the thing. Because when Buckner was in the game, there was no points for Alabama. Ty Simpson came in and he led them to 17 points. I would have liked to see Saban say, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go Ty Simpson starting. Maybe he'll get a start sometime down the road. But just to go back to Jalen Milrow, just automatically go back to Jalen Milrow, I don't know if that's going to be good. So for Alabama, what you've got to do is you can't rely on the offense. Your defense is going to have to show up. And the thing Alabama's going to have to do, they have got to go back to their old school defensive selves where they go and score a bunch of defensive touchdowns. If they get a defensive touchdown, I think that changes the whole trajectory of this whole game. Whether it's a scoop and score with a fumble or if it's a pick six, Alabama's got to get a defensive touchdown. That would be huge because then the offense can sit back and get a little bit more confidence from that. That they don't have to do it all themselves, even though the offense is just awful for Alabama. And it all starts with the quarterback. And then another thing is when you look at that Alabama offense, and I said this Wednesday night, but Alabama has got to go back to just running the football. That is the one thing that really gets me. And I understand that the run game wasn't really doing well against USF. I think Alabama had Tyler Booker, probably their best offensive lineman. He was out that game against USF. So at the offensive line, it's all about continuity. How does your team do? How does your unit do as a group? And that was what hurt Alabama's offensive line. Is because you had a guy out. I'm not sure. I'll have to look. But if he plays, if that Alabama offensive line plays like how everybody expected them to, Alabama needs to just run the ball. Quit relying on the quarterback to make plays with his arm. Run the ball. Just run the ball. That's all Alabama's got to do. If Alabama can establish the run game, if they can get a defensive touchdown and play good enough defense, then Alabama wins this game. If they don't do that, this game's going to be too close for comfort. That's all I'm going to say.
Yep.
So,
and chat, don't be afraid to voice your opinion on the game predictions, which is coming up, on who should win and who should lose.
All right, everybody. Now we get into the portion of the show that we all love, and you'll have to give me a second because I've got to get it pulled up real quick. But here is the games picked record. Derek still has a slight lead. But Colton, though.
Terrible.
6-5, though, he got a winning record. So,
yeah, he did. But
you got to look at the positive here, okay?
Yep.
So, we have 9 games to choose from today. And we'll see how we do. And so, with these next 11 minutes, we've got some game picks. And we've got 4.
We got about 15.
We got 4 that are gimmies, and then the other,
Our hearts.
the 5s, the other 5 are like, I think will be pretty good matchups to
Split
have to pick.
decisions.
And we could be split on it. So we start out with the top team in the land, Georgia Bulldogs, hosting the UAB Blazers.
Georgia Bulldogs all day. Their first loss first true matchup game will be next week against Auburn.
I gotta go Georgia. Although, folks, because the way I saw Georgia get down, I believe it was 14 to South Carolina, but then score 24 unanswered, win the game. Do not be shocked if UAB keeps this competitive, because I will say I like UAB. I like Trent Dilfer. I think he's doing a great job there at UAB. I don't think they'll win the game, but UAB is going to keep this interesting, I think. So just keep that in mind. All right. Our next one, a Tennessee team who is really feeling some heat, hosting UTSA, who is now in the American, who has made a lot of noise these last few years. So, Derek, UTSA or Tennessee?
Go Vols. I'm saying go Tennessee all day.
Yeah, Tennessee, I think, should win this game pretty bad. Like, they should win this. Should be a big win for them. If they let UTSA stay close, that doesn't sound good for Tennessee. So we'll see what happens in that game. All right. And speaking of who beat Tennessee, Florida and Charlotte. Charlotte, of course, another one of those teams that's new to the American and going up against the Florida Gators in Gainesville.
Go Florida. Florida's got this game in the bag. They should win this game after beating a topper team in the SEC. So they should beat them.
Yeah, I gotta go Florida. They should win this pretty big. So we now get to the only neutral site game of the day, which I believe is being played in St. Louis. It's the Memphis Tigers and the Missouri Tigers. The Battle of the Tigers in St. Louis, Missouri. Very interesting right there. Derek, who's winning this one?
I'm going Mizzou. They just beat Kansas State somehow. That's one of the games me and Cooper both missed last week, and I think Missouri will pull the win out this game.
Yes, and Colton missed that as well, just to,
Oh.
Yeah. All right. Now, we get to the 5 that will potentially be tough and could be split on. We start with Kentucky going to Vanderbilt.
You pick first.
I will say, Vandy started out looking pretty good. And then these last 2 weeks, they lost to Wake Forest, lost to UNLV. And last year, I believe Vandy, I can't remember if I think it was either Florida or Kentucky they beat. They just missed a ball game, but played at home against Kentucky. I don't know. I think I'm going to take the upset. I'm going Vandy at home.
I'm going Wildcats. I'm going Kentucky all day. Kentucky has lost Will Levis, their starting quarterback, which went in the beginning of the second round to the Tennessee Titans, but I think Kentucky will pull this game out.
All right. So we get to our next game, Mississippi State, coming off of their
terrible
game against LSU. But it's not all, because LSU is a very good team, folks.
Yes,
but very much. They are headed up to Columbia, South Carolina, as they take on the Gamecocks of South Carolina. So, Derek, who you got?
I'm going South Carolina, I believe. I think South Carolina can pull this game out against Mississippi State. They're playing at home, so I'm going Gamecocks.
I got to go Mississippi State here. I like what I saw early in the season from them, and South Carolina, I'm just interested to see can they actually like I don't think they're going to be able to I just don't believe in them after they've lost two games where they been competitive in the first half and then just kind of, you know, it all goes south in the second half. So I don't know. I'm going Mississippi State though. So all right, our next one, Arkansas and LSU in Death Valley in prime time ESPN. Derek?
I'm going LSU. Go Tigers because I think LSU will win this game. I think Arkansas will not win this game, and I'm a little surprised that you did not pick this game for your game picks. Game broadcaster. A little.
Well, um, this game is going to be one that LSU should probably win big. I'm going to go LSU. But there's just a feeling I have that makes me think this game is going to be close near the end. But I think LSU gets the win here. So, now we get into our final two games. It's the two games that we did preview.
Can we do the Alabama one first?
Alabama's a better game, so we're going Auburn and Texas A&M
Okay.
first. So,
you go first then.
I'm going A&M. I don't believe Auburn's going to. I don't think they're going to win this game. I think A&M just, like I said earlier, Connor Wigman, I think, is just going to light them up all day long, and I think A&M gets the win at home.
Well, I guess I got to disagree with you, and I have to remind you that Cooper did pick Cal to beat Auburn in California, and I picked Auburn to win. That was a big mess up from Cooper, and I think he's messing up again. Go Auburn.
Hey, you never know because I'm just saying, first SEC game of the season, and you go into A&M. A&M's a good team. I mean, I think they're better than Auburn, but we'll see. And then we have Ole Miss and Alabama. 2:30 on CBS. This is going to be a great one to watch, everybody. Of course, like I said earlier, big storylines. Quarterback for Alabama. How does he do? And then quarterback for Ole Miss. How does he light up Alabama? That's going to be. I hate to say that, but I have this feeling that he'll have a good game. But Derek, you go ahead.
I want you to pick first.
I'm going Alabama. I just don't see Saban losing two straight home games. And especially to Ole Miss, I don't see it. I got to go Bama. I think it's going to be a lot like that Texas A&M game at home last season where Milroe played awful. And I'm telling you, all these people who said Milroe had a decent game, I'm sorry. He played awful against A&M last season. Okay? And that's the kind of game I think we're getting from Milroe today. But somehow Alabama wins the game. Like somehow Bama wins at home against Ole Miss. I don't know. Go ahead, Derek.
Well, I'm going Lane Kiffin. I'm going Ole Miss Rebels all day, and I just have this gut feeling that Ole Miss is going to beat Alabama. This is the year for Ole Miss to beat Alabama, so I'm going Rebels. Go Ole Miss.
All right, folks. So that is our game picks. And I mean, other than the Arkansas LSU game, the 5 that we said that we maybe split on, we were split on 4 of them. So we'll see who is going to do better this week. But
And I will be watching the Auburn Texas A&M game and the Alabama Ole Miss game. So that will I'm gonna have a fun day in SEC football.
All right. Well, thank you, Derek, for coming on.
You're welcome.
We're,
Always fun to have it.
yep. Well, we are going to go to commercial break and then college football wraparound right here on Saber Broadcast Network. And good afternoon, because we are now into our afternoon portion of the day. And that means it's college football wraparound time, folks. And man, what a day of football we have. We've already started out with SEC wraparound. It was an incredible day to start out. And we'll see. I mean, me and Derek split on those games. Also, a little bit later in the show, we'll give the answers to those questions. So you just sit back and wait for that. And then, so coming up today, we're going to preview Arkansas and LSU. We're going to preview Colorado and Oregon. We're going to preview Iowa and Penn State. We're going to preview Ohio State, Notre Dame. We're going to preview Florida State and Clemson. We've got our answers to our questions, and then we've got our game picks coming up at the end of the show. But I do want to say this, that you noticed that we had two streams scheduled for today. One at 9:30, which we were a little bit late on, but you know what? It's fine. And then we got our 11 o'clock game broadcast. Now, you may be wondering, at the end of this show, how am I going to be able to listen to your broadcast of the game? Well, let me explain that. In the description of this video, I've got a link that if you click on that, it takes you straight to that live stream video, which is, it's the same one that if you were to go out of this video and go back to the main page of my channel, be the same one you would see for the Florida State Clemson game broadcast. But I wanted to do that because last Saturday night, if you are just coming back to seeing that, we had the most live concurrent viewers at 72. So, you may be thinking, why then? What was the big deal about changing up the way you schedule everything? Well, in the way that YouTube works, it's all about the title of your video. It's all about your thumbnail, big stuff. So to be able to listen to my game broadcast, you will have to click on that link in the description once this is over. And I'm planning on being done about 10:50, so that'll give you about 10 minutes to get prepared for the game broadcast. So that's a little bit of how that's going to work today. So now, let's get into Arkansas and LSU. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, that here in a little bit, we're going to have a question and answers time. So if you have any questions about college football, you can have a chance to have those questions answered right here on the channel. So let's get into this Arkansas LSU game. And let me tell you, Saturday night watching Arkansas play BYU. And I mean, I've talked about Arkansas and LSU. I mean, I talked about Arkansas during the SEC wraparound. But let's just go back. Arkansas has got to play mistake-free football. And I said that earlier, that the penalties are what killed them. And you can't have that. You cannot have that if you want to be successful. So how does Arkansas win this game against LSU? Well, LSU's defense has been okay. I mean, they played a good game against Mississippi State. So Arkansas has got to be able to, I feel like the passing game's got to get going a little bit. Because, I mean, everybody knows Arkansas is going to run the football, like a lot. So KJ Jefferson, I feel like he's got to be able to hit those deep shots when needed, which I think he can. But you got a primetime game at Death Valley. I just have this, I mean, the thing is, Arkansas, I don't know how it's going to be. Maybe the penalties get better, but I mean, also at the same time, you're playing at Death Valley in primetime. I mean, that's going to be tough. So it'll be interesting just to see how Arkansas does. But LSU, all they got to do is just, Jaden Daniels has got to go out there and play the type football he's been playing, and they'll continue winning. LSU is one of the best teams in the SEC West right now. And so we'll see what happens, but it'll be an interesting game. All right, everybody. Now we get into Colorado and Oregon. And I've got to tell you, this game, here's my opinion on it, okay? Oregon, I think, because I think they said that they're like 21-point favorites. I think that's accurate. And Colorado is going to have a tough game here. The reason why I say that is because you are having to play without your best player. It's not Shedeur Sanders, but Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter is the same guy who can play wide receiver and defensive back. You lose that talent? The guy is incredible. He's out with what I believe is like a lacerated liver. Yeah. You'll have to go back and watch that play. People have been saying that the hit that Colorado State defensive player, Henry Blackburn, was a dirty hit. Also, it's a hard thing, but I mean, at that point, it's hard when you have two guys going at full force for him, for the defensive player to just stop his momentum after the ball's dropped. So, I mean, both players are coming full force at each other. So, I mean, that's the thing is like, people need to really understand football and the aggressiveness in this. So, Travis Hunter, that hit was not dirty, okay? You have two guys that have got full force running. How are they supposed to, in a split second, stop? Like, how? So, I mean, I think there's just a bunch of crazy people out there, but there's no way that you can stop your momentum when you're going that fast. Let's just be honest about this. So, with that being said, Oregon being a 21-point favorite, that's about accurate. I don't believe Shedeur Sanders is going to be able to play that great of a game against Oregon. And Oregon's offense, if they play the way they should, they're going to have a day. This is going to be a fun day if you're Oregon football, if they play the way that they should play. In this game that people are thinking, oh, this is an incredible game, this is the best game of the week, they better come down to earth because this game's going to be, I think this is a blowout. And I'll get my game pick here in a little bit, but Colorado, they're going to have a tough day because they're going up against an Oregon team that is complete and could potentially really challenge, they could really be in that race for the Pac-12 championship. Oregon, because they're a good team. All right, let's get into a game that's going to be in prime time, CBS 6:30, Iowa and Penn State. Now, it is a whiteout game. And I don't know, this may be the only whiteout game of the season. I'm not completely sure with you folks. I'll have to go back and look at that. But Iowa coming in, their offense has been better. Now, of course, the offensive coordinator, Brian Ferentz, has got that really weird stipulation in his contract about the team has got to score at least 25 points on offense per game in the average. So, how do they do that? Well, they've got Cade McNamara, the guy who, if you remember, he was the starting quarterback at Michigan before J.J. McCarthy. They actually competed for the job last season. J.J. McCarthy, of course, ending up winning that job at Michigan. So you got Cade McNamara at Iowa, and then you got Drew Aller, who has had a great season. Now, struggled in part against Illinois last week. Drew Aller did. What do I see from this game, though? I'll be honest. I think this game is going to come down to defense. And if I'm looking at the defensive side of things, I do think Iowa will have a chance at the end, but I don't think it's enough. I mean, we'll just have to see. But see, Penn State, I think, has got a good defense. Iowa, I think, has got a good defense. And both offenses are very interesting. Now, the one thing, though, is Penn State's got a very balanced offense because they're able to throw the ball wherever they want to because they got a great quarterback. And then they've got a 1-2 duo of Nick Singleton and Katron Allen as their running backs. Penn State's a good team, folks. They are a team that you are going to see competing for that Big Ten championship. So, this is a good game. This is one in prime time. I think a lot of people are going to be. I mean, if you're not watching Ohio State and Notre Dame, you're probably watching Iowa, Penn State. That's just, or if you're like me, you'll probably, on one screen, you've got, like you're watching both games at the same time because this is that kind of game. So, it'll be interesting. Of course, the big thing is Drew Aller. Does it, how many plays is he going to make? He only needs a few, I think. And a score in this game has got to be like a 24-21 type game. That's what I see from this. So we'll just see what happens in this one. But now, this is where you, the viewers, have a chance that if you have questions for me, that you now have your chance to answer. To give a question out and I'll answer it for you. So, if you have any questions at all, this is your chance. Put them in the chat and I will answer as soon as you put it in there. I'll get to your questions. So, there's a lot of stuff you could talk about. So, let's just see what you can come up with as far as questions. Of course, we've got 2 more games after this to preview. Then we're going to give the answers to the questions. And then we got our game picks. Also with our game picks, Jack and Colton, um, right about now, Colton will not be. I know Colton won't be able to join me for game picks. Jack, potentially, I'm not sure though. He he was busy this morning, so it's a thing where we will just see if there's a possibility. But of course, um, with that, if they're not able to, they actually gave me their picks last night, so got a sheet of paper, got a sheet of paper, their game picks. So that will be interesting to see. So, all right. So, um, real quickly, we'll keep Q&A time going, but I'm going to go ahead and go to commercial break. And if you have any questions, I'll answer it on the other end of this break. All right, everybody, welcome back here to College Football Wraparound. As we're going to go ahead and move on from our question and answers time. So, always, if you have any questions, you always have a chance if you would like to have your questions answered. So, but we're going to go ahead and start out with our preview of Ohio State and Notre Dame. Now, when we look at both of these teams, now I did say the other night, Notre Dame, I think looks like one of the most complete teams. I've not seen them play a bad game as of yet. So, what does that tell me? Well, here you go. You've got Ohio State, who people are questioning their offense, even though they're still a good team. This is going to be an absolutely incredible game tonight in primetime NBC. And I'll say this. You got Sam Hartman against Kyle McCord. And when you look at the supporting cast for both of these teams, Marvin Harrison Jr., he's going to be big for Ohio State. How does he play tonight? That's going to be big. And then when we look at Notre Dame, Sam Hartman, he's who, like, if he's not pressured, which that offensive line is incredible for Notre Dame, it'll be interesting to see. But I mean, if I'm depending on where I go in this game, you'll see later. But it's going to be big because I think if you're Ohio State, you got to be able to throw the ball down the field good. You got to establish a run game, and your defense is going to have to play good enough to stop Sam Hartman. That's just the honest truth about this. And when we look at Notre Dame, you just got to play good defense. Sam Hartman's got to play good. And then, Audrey Estime, your running back, let him go. Let him run the ball. Let him take over. Notre Dame, I think, has the opportunity here to get a big win here. And playing at home, we'll see. Prime time Saturday night, NBC, 6:30. It's going to be a good one, folks. And then we move on to the game that I'm going to be doing. Florida State and Clemson. It's a good one, folks. So, we look at this one, and you got Florida State, who they struggled a little bit against Boston College, let them hang around a little too long. So, if you're Florida State, you can't have another game like that. Because if you do, then you just basically are you're basically going to hand Clemson a win. Plus, you're playing at Clemson. You're going to have to play your best game. This game, I've been saying since the beginning of the season, this defines the ACC championship. Because here's the thing. Because Clemson, if they want to have any shot at going to the playoff later in the season, they've got to win out. And getting a win at home against Florida State, that's just the beginning. But here's the thing. For Florida State, if you lose this game, although you still are fine because you'll have to win out, the thing is that this is a big game for them. Because you got your neutral site win against LSU, but if you can get a road win against Clemson, that's big. That is big. But here's the thing that the media is going to do here, okay? Because it's going to be kind of quiet, I think, if Clemson wins. But all that about Clemson's dynasty is over. All that talk we had after Duke beat them. Trust me, folks. You're going to have people saying, oh, it's over. It's over because they couldn't beat Florida State at home. It's over. So have that in mind. You may have that kind of mess come out of if Florida State were to win the game. So you'll get my pick a little bit later. Well, actually, you won't get my pick. That's right. I'm crazy because I'm calling the game. Either way. So, let me real quick, because we are going to go to a commercial break. Then we're going to get to the last portion of the show. We're going to answer the questions from earlier. Then we got our game picks coming up. So, you want to keep it here. I'll be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back. All right, it is now time to give you those answers to the questions, and then it'll be time for the fun part, the game picks. And I've got some picks from Jack and Colton. So this is going to be awesome. Either way, let's begin with the first question. What was Georgia's first bowl game and what year was it? It was the 1942 Orange Bowl. Long time ago, folks. 81 years. All right. Georgia played 2 games in their first season. Who did they play? Auburn and Mercer. Very interesting right there. Played Auburn and Mercer. How many times did Alabama beat Texas in the 20th century? They never did. What is the Alabama marching band called? The $1 Million Band. What was the name of the Auburn football stadium in 2003? Jordan-Hare Stadium. And then in 1989, Auburn beat Alabama 30-20. What was special about this game? It was the first time the two played in Auburn, Alabama. So there you go. That's the answers to the questions. So hope you had a little bit of fun with that. And now it's time for some game picks. Now, the way we're going to do this is I'll just read off Jack and Colton's answers first. And then, of course, at the end, after I do there too, I'll pick whichever game it is. And the first 3 I've already given you picks for in SEC wraparound, but then I'll just give them again because, Either way, we got Mississippi State and South Carolina. We're going to start with Colton. Well, me and him agree. Mississippi State. We both have the Bulldogs. And then Jack has got South Carolina in the game. So, yep, we're split here. But it's a good thing to be split. Okay, Arkansas and LSU. All right, all 3 of us have got LSU winning the game. I don't know what that means, but we all got LSU. Auburn and Texas A&M. We all have Texas A&M in this game. Very interesting. All right. The game coming up here on the channel right after this is over. Florida State and Clemson. Of course, I cannot choose, but my analysts are split. Colton's got Florida State. Jack's got Clemson. Very interesting. They're split. That is very interesting, though. All right. Oregon State and Washington State. This one's going to be interesting because we didn't actually talk about this one, but you've got 2 teams that, that are probably the 2 that's going to be the last 2 left in the Pac-12. Every other team in the Pac-12 has abandoned them. And now Oregon State and Washington State is trying to figure out what their future holds. And of course, in my opinion, I think at the end of the day, Pac-12 and the Mountain West, Pac-12 does not want to just completely dissolve. So I think it's just going to be a Pac-12 Mountain West merger. Just all the 12 Mountain West teams are going to merge with Oregon State and Washington State. I think that's what you're going to end up seeing here. Either way, here's the thing. This game, my analysts both have Oregon State. But you know what? I got Washington State because they beat Wisconsin at home. They got Oregon State at home too. Home field advantage is a big thing in college football. But I got to go Washington State. I think Washington State wins the game. All right. UCLA and Utah. My analysts are split. Colton's got UCLA, and Jack has got Utah. I got to agree with Jack. I think Utah wins the game. I think from what I saw this point in the season, their defense, that's going to be hard to stop. And I just feel like when it comes push to shove, the defense wins this game, and it's going to be Utah. Now we get Colorado and Oregon. And well, all three of us agree. Oregon will win the game. No Travis Hunter for Colorado. Well, Colorado really has no shot in this game. That's just my opinion. I don't know what their opinions on it are, but, I've just got Oregon because Colorado's got no chance without Travis Hunter. All right. Ole Miss and Alabama. Well, we all three agree with Alabama. So, like I said, it's going to be interesting. How does Milroe play against Ole Miss? Gonna be big. Gonna be very, very big. And then we've got Iowa and Penn State. Well, all three of us agree with Penn State. It's just gonna be hard when you're Iowa and you're going into Penn State. It's gonna be hard to actually get a win there. So, yeah, Penn State will win the game. And our final one is Ohio State at Notre Dame. Now, Jack and Colton both picked Ohio State in this game. I've got Notre Dame. Notre Dame's playing at home. It's a primetime game. And both teams, it's really their first test. I got to go Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame, because I said this Wednesday night, and I said this earlier today as well, that after a few weeks, you see for the first time, you see a team that, that really has put themselves, kind of distanced themselves from everyone else. And they look like they just can't do any wrong. I think Notre Dame's that team. I mean, I know it's early in the season, but Notre Dame to me, they just look like a team who just can't have a bad game. So, Notre Dame, I'm going with them. All right, so I told this at the beginning of college football wraparound, but I'm going to have to go ahead and tell this again, that this stream right here, where you're on SBN College Football Saturdays, it's going to end in a minute. Now, how do you watch the game? In the description, I have a link. That is the same live stream as if you were to go out of this stream and go back to the main page of the channel and look at all the live streams coming up. And it's the one that's upcoming that says Florida State Clemson game broadcast. You can click on that link, or you go back how I just told you how to find it. But like I said, that we had a great stream Saturday night, getting like 72 people in. Most I've had ever for a stream at one time. So that's how we're doing it. Florida State Clemson is going to have its own stream at 11 a.m. So that is how you find the game. So with that, I'm Cooper Naylor, and we will see you on the other stream in just a little while. Goodbye, everybody.